So we'll go ahead and get started. First, I wanted to welcome you and thank you for joining us. My name is Sally Mildren, and I am the CEO and managing partner of Boss Lady Consulting. After a long career, nearly 20 years in marketing, communications, PR, customer experience for nonprofits, small businesses, systems, corporations, and Fortune 500 companies, I launched into consulting a few years back and full-time just over a year ago. And so at Boss Lady Consulting, we have an amazing team of folks who are seasoned professionals in everything from social media and digital strategy to customer experience, product marketing, to communications, and all of the gamut of marketing and communications. And it's truly our honor to serve and emphasize small business growth. So today, this webinar was built based on the feedback that we saw over and over again online. If any of you are members of Facebook groups or alignable groups or LinkedIn groups or other communities online of small business owners, probably 90% of the posts that are out there are, how do I get more business? Or how do I drive more leads? Or how do I get people to see my website or whatever? And so this webinar actually was birthed from having seen a lot of those messages online and a lot of small businesses that we know need help, but maybe aren't in a position to hire a consulting agency just yet. So we've created this and other resources for small business owners because it truly is our heart to want to see you succeed and to be able to achieve your goals and dreams and to have a little bit of guidance from some folks who've been there on what you should do and maybe what you shouldn't do. So after serving dozens and dozens of clients and small businesses, we have to start with this. You need to know your numbers. Now that may sound like duh, or it might make you go, ooh, I know. There's so many times that small business owners come to us and want help with their marketing, that they want to really be sure that what they're doing is working. And when we begin to dig in and ask questions, they don't know their numbers. And I get the numbers are hard. They can be overwhelming. But if you don't have any idea how many leads you're getting or how you're closing, are you closing 20%, 60%? How many visitors are coming to your website? Or are there any converting? Where are they dropping off if they're at your website? Do you have a bunch of abandoned carts if you have an online? If you have services, are you getting calls from people that just aren't the right fit for your business at all? So that's what I mean about knowing your numbers. When we work with our clients, one of the things that we do is a very deep assessment onto their brand, their marketing, their sales. And we take a look at where are leads coming from? Where are customers coming from? What is any information in the whole business that we can get to be able to help you have a very clear picture of where your business is coming from, what's working, what may not be working. And I'll give you a couple examples. With one client that recently approached us, she's a retail vendor, sells apparel. She came and said, I need to double my sales in the holiday season of 2021. Okay, so what are your best sellers? I have no idea, was her answer. Okay, what do you have a sense of how much volume you have on your different categories? Maybe we could back into it. Had no idea, wasn't keeping inventory, didn't really know, didn't have a good way to track. So obviously that was one thing that we tried to solve right away for her, is to help her get a very clear way to track her inventory and the sellers so that she knows what are the customers looking for. Which things have you had on the shelf forever that never moved? Don't make more of those. So it seems silly, but knowing your numbers, getting in and being willing to really take a look at where is my business coming from. If you're a landscape service and all of your business is in new rock wall installations and not in regular weekly mowing service, then maybe you don't need to hire more weekly maintenance folks. Maybe you need to hire people who are experts in masonry or in rock wall installation or in irrigation or whatever. Again, looking at the numbers is the number one step for knowing how to grow your company. The second thing that you need to take a look at is the brand foundation. Now, when we talk about brand in this context, a lot of people think, oh, that's my logo. I've got a logo. Your logo is one visual identity that's a part of your brand, but it is not your brand. So we'll clarify that right up front and say your logo does not equal brand. Your brand is truly everything about your business, from your service, all your collateral, your messaging, your logo, your story, who you are, the products that you sell, the services that you provide. So your brand is really something that is all encompassing. And so often people will come to us and say, my marketing's not working. And we almost always find a gap or an error in the brand. So a couple of the things that you need to really start with on your brand are these: your why. Now, if you're going, oh, brother, eye rolling, you're ready to bail on this webinar, stick with me for a minute, because I can tell you that if you dial in on these pieces in the next few slides, it honestly will change how your marketing happens. If you've never really dialed in to your why are you in business? Then now is the time. It doesn't matter if you've been around 20 years or if you've been around 20 days. And your why might have shifted over time. But if you can't answer the question of why are you in business, or the next piece, what is your purpose or your bigger reason for being in business? Now, it doesn't need to be something like, I'm going to solve world peace, but it may be that I want to help bigger women feel beautiful. Okay, we're going to get apparel that is flattering to all shapes and curves. We are going to empower larger boned women and curvy women to feel gorgeous in our clothes. So it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be, solving climate crisis. But we had a client that came to us, needed to grow their business. And one of the things that they did as a business, they stayed up on the top of the top leading edge technology, and all the chemicals that they used in their service are green. They're eco-conscious, and they didn't talk about it at all. So a value that was important to them as a business was, we don't want to do harm. We don't want to pump unknown chemicals into people's homes that may be harmful to their family, to their pets, to our workers. And so you can see that there's a value or a purpose or a why in there that is saying, we value the safety for our customer and staff, and we value the ability to not do harm to the environment. So that becomes part of the purpose, part of the value, part of the why they're in business. And then the last bit is really looking at your brand story. How do you talk about your business? Are those things you've just discovered in your why and in your purpose and your values showing up in how you talk about your business? Or are you all business? A lot of companies, like with social media, will just be this thing 50% off, or this service, or this offer, or this whatever. And it's easy to fall into the space of talking and marketing promotions and sales and forget that there's a story to who you are. What about a behind the scenes? If you are making your own apparel, show the customer how that gets made. If you are, I have a client who's a service provider, they will show photos of, hey, we're keeping our clients up to the top standards in service by training all day today. We're working on safety, or hey, this is a new project we're doing. We'll do behind the scenes. We'll do a team highlight. We will do a customer highlight or a testimony that really speaks to some of the values that are important to us. For that specific client, one of their important values is that they are very family oriented and they want to serve families. So a lot of the messaging that is in their brand story is that from our family to yours, we're going to take care of you and make sure we're doing what's right for you. So that's an example. The third thing that we're going to talk about real quick is finding your brand's audience. So how do you know who you're trying to reach? And I'll warn you, one of the mistakes that we see so often is people being afraid to narrow in because they don't want to eliminate any customers. And so they try to be everything to everyone. And I could tell you from a consumer standpoint, if you're for everybody, you're for nobody. What do I mean by that? How many of you have ever bought a one-size-fits-all garment? They're either not one-size-fits-all, or all the alls that they used were all the same size. So it's kind of that idea where if you weigh 300 pounds or 80 pounds, do you think that garment is really one size fits all? Maybe not. So the same thing with a brand is that you need to find your brand's audience. And we're going to talk about some of the things that disconnect to help you identify if you know if you're targeting the right people. So for us, I'm going to use the example of selling shoes here. The target audience is who's most likely to need your product or service. And a lot of people get hung up here. They're like, no, I don't want to have people go away and think I'm not talking to them. I need to stay broad and just say I'm selling shoes. Well, you can see from the diagram that could be infants, it could be elderly, it could be pregnant women, it could be children, men, women, etc. It could be any age in the spectrum if you're just selling shoes. But if what you're really selling is high performance running shoes, that's going to be a much narrower audience. That doesn't mean that there aren't pregnant women or elderly folks or children who don't want or need a high performance running shoe, but they aren't going to be the most likely, the biggest users of your product. And so that's kind of an example of how we narrow in on a target audience. Again, it's not to the exclusion of everybody else, but in your messaging and in your business, if you have a landscape business, you're probably not going to want to market to renters, people who are renting homes. You want to market to homeowners. You want to market to the commercial development owners. You want to market to the right people, not just people who live in a house, because they may not need your services, and then you will be wasting time and money. So you can identify a target audience by this list on the right there: age, gender, or common location or geography. You know, we've worked with a lot of healthcare entities, and urgent care clinics, for instance, is very geographic based. And often there's an urgent care right down the street from the competitor. And so Sometimes your target audience isn't a specific gender or age or whatever. Sometimes it's you live in this area. You can pick by hobbies, income, education, all the things on the list, or you also could identify your target audience by a shared value or purpose or stage. What do I mean by that? Maybe your service, we have one client that is serving families with children who have tube feeding, who are on tube feeding to be fed. So that's a very niche target audience. They're not going to want to send their stuff to 55 and over communities. It's just not going to make sense to market in that space. So do you know who your target audience is? That's essential. And the reason why knowing your audience is so important is because it helps you build relationship. And I think that's the number one thing. I had a small business this morning join our small business mastermind, which you'll hear about at the end. And she indicated in her notes that her biggest challenge is social media and donations. Obviously, she's a nonprofit. That's always the biggest challenge for a nonprofit. But the thing we forget is that social media is designed for relationship. It's designed for being social, not just talking at. How many of you love commercials to interrupt your favorite program in the evening? Not usually. Not usually. And that's kind of what just over promotional posture on social media looks like from a small business. The idea is to build relationship. You understand what they want and what they like, and your messaging accurately reflects that. It will increase the return on investment or ROI and saves you money, and it improves the effectiveness of ads. There's a lot of small businesses that will put a post up and just pay to boost it. But there's no way to know if that is effectively reaching what you want. The pictures here, are you reaching just women? Or maybe you're a high-end pet boutique and you're looking for women who have cats and dogs and love pets. See the difference? You'll be a lot more effective. Your stuff will get served, and it will save you a lot of money in the long run. And it also increases conversions. And ideally, this kind of understanding of your audience is what will be the driver for nearly all of your strategic decisions. So it's important that we'll go back to the landscape example. It's important that if you are seeing, oh, all my customers want new rock walls, and I've put all my money into lawnmowers, that's going to be knowing your audience and understanding what they need, and then making strategic decisions to either only change who your audience is so that you only are offering lawn mowing to somebody else, or change your business practice and services and focus on rock walls. Okay, so brand alignment. This honestly is where a lot of businesses, from the Fortune 500 businesses we've worked with to the smallest brand new startups, go wrong. There is the tendency to just talk. And 100 years ago, there was a movie about a guy who built a baseball field, and I think it's called Field of Dreams, I think. The mantra in that movie was, if we build it, they will come. That's not a good mantra for marketing, for brand either. And one of the things that is disconnected so often, and this is where we're diagnosing the disconnect, your brand alignment will be identified. Is it working based on engagement? If you have nobody liking, viewing, commenting on your social, you have a brand alignment issue. You're either serving your message to the wrong people, or you're not serving it in a way that they're getting and connecting with. Goes back to that story, that building relationship thing. So if you're running a nonprofit and you're having a hard time getting donors, one of the things that might be disconnected is that you're only talking about the business and the need. which is often what happens, or rather than the impact of me being part of your mission. It's a slight nuance. So I'll give you a couple examples here. We had the company that's serving parents with children with tube feeding. Their messaging was super technical, all about the tubes and the medical and all the terms that therapists and speech pathologists and physicians were using. But when you looked at the message that their families were using, some of these moms and dads were like spending 7 hours a day trying to get their child to eat enough food. And they're exhausted. They are strung out. They're stressed, chronically worried. One post that just stood out to me so strongly was the mom said, I am so grateful for this company because for the first time in my baby's life in 9 months, I played with my child today. I didn't spend every waking moment just trying to get him to eat. So you see, there was a real emotional story and an emotional need that people felt was being ignored by the too technical of language. So this is where your alignment, it uses your why, it uses your competitive advantages, it uses your brand story. This is where you take those things and then speak to what your true audience really needs and wants. And I ask this question, are you talking to your audience? Again, I have worked for national hotel chains in Hawaii. Same thing. They wanted more group business. So they did all these great brochures and it didn't work. And then they brought me in and were like, why? Well, the whole thing was pictures of meeting rooms and notepads and presentations. But how many of you go to Hawaii excited about the notepads and the presentations, even if you're there for a group conference? So we did a photo shoot. We changed it to the palms and the sunsets and the Hawaiian culture. And we edited it with some meeting space, but by and large, people are not going to Hawaii excited about a meeting. They're excited about experiencing the beach and the Mai Tai and the ocean and the palm trees. And so when we made that shift, people were interested. There were a lot more conversations going on and they exceeded their goals. And so that's just an example of talking to your audience, not huffing your own exhaust, if you will, and saying all the things you know about your business, which is so tempting, but talking to them in a way that is meaningful and that engages them. And then part of this message alignment and your brand alignment is it clear from your messaging, from your branding, your flyers, your service, whatever it is, that why should I buy from you? And in our industry, we call that WIFM, which is what's in it for me. And I can tell you, after COVID, consumers are different and they are less patient, I think maybe universally, but they will leave a brand. 74% of consumers indicated they would leave a brand after one bad experience. But good news is, if you make that right, 80% of them will stay, of those 74, so that's good. But you have to be really, really clear on why should I buy from you? What makes your high performance running shoes better than the brand stores in the mall? What is the value for me to get my lawn mowing from you, or my haircut, or what's in it for me to be part of donating to your nonprofit? Those are the questions that you need to identify. And you'll be looking at back to the why, to the purpose, to your brand attributes, the value things that we talked about. That one company, some of their brand attributes are eco-conscious, being friendly to the environment, being safe to pets and children. Some of their brand attributes. Some of our other customers, their brand attribute is to want to be the most affordable solution. Okay, that can be one of your brand attributes. Some people have a real heart to empower women, to empower troubled youth, to make curvy girls feel beautiful. So again, the brand attributes. What is it about your business? You can see why we had to start with the why. What is it about you that makes you extraordinary? Your competitive advantages. What's different about you from your competitors? Maybe you provide the exact same services, exact same products as your competitor. What makes you different? Maybe it is that you are 100% committed to an exceptional customer experience. And I'll tell you, I just saw a study by PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a huge national data firm and consultant, that said that consumers were willing to pay up to almost 20% more, knowing it's the exact same thing as they can get next door, if it came with an exceptional customer experience. So maybe that is one of your competitive advantages. One of my clients who's a service provider, their tagline is, no matter what, do what's right. And so they will, no matter what, do the right thing for the customer. That is one of their competitive advantages, is their follow through, their customer experience. They're doing what they said they'd do. Another customer that we spoke about earlier, one of our clients, when they give an estimate, if they miss something, they don't do a change order and charge the client more. So it incentivizes them to be really careful on their estimate, but it also tells the customer, hey, we're honest and we are true to our word. And if we missed it, that's our bad. Every other competitor in the market and in that niche does change order after change order after change order. And so it is a big deal to the customer that they are offering great customer service, honest estimates that they will stand by, and that no matter what, they're going to fulfill. So that needs to be a big part of their messaging. Number 5, we're going to talk a little bit about channel assessment. And in the context of marketing, the channel is basically whatever platform, category, whatever activity you're present in. It might be a farmer's market booth, could be a direct mail piece, it could be a partnership program, it could be social media, online, website, all the things. So channel assessment is really getting clear on where you need to be and where you don't need to be. And for small businesses, I hear all the time how overwhelming social media is. And I get it. I'm a marketing agency CEO. And sometimes I'm just like, oh, it's too much. But the thing is, you don't need to be everywhere. And how do you know? Well, we back up to our target audience conversation and we identify the people who most need my high performance running shoes are this age group and this athletes or whatever. The people for a healthcare clinic, the people who most need a total knee replacement are former athletes and people in the 50 to 65-year-old range. Okay, so it helps you begin to target who's your audience, and then you do the research and look who's on those channels. If you're targeting a 50 to 75-year-old target group, probably TikTok not going to be your highest priority. It's fun, and there are people in that age range out there, but by and large, not most of your people are out there. Actually, for that age range, Facebook's a really great platform. And I'll tell you just a little side statistic is that every generation, without exception, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, boomers, all of them are on Facebook. So Facebook is a pretty good universal. If your primary target is the youngest generation, you might not make that your only channel. But here's where I recommend for all of my clients, for my own business, for my family and friends who own businesses that aren't our client, start small. Start with one or two. Don't try to be everywhere. You know, I have one of my service clients, they do well and water filtration. And when we got started, they're like, we need a LinkedIn, a Twitter, a Facebook, an Instagram, a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. You don't need Twitter. Twitter doesn't make sense unless you're constantly pumping out news or giving little tidbits and highlights. It doesn't make sense for a very geo-specific well company. Okay, maybe for a consultant, it makes sense. LinkedIn, more of a professional networking kind of thing. Doesn't make sense. You need to be where the homeowners are, and that is on Instagram and Facebook. We're in Facebook groups. We, might do a targeted direct mail, that sort of thing. So that's what I mean by assessing your channels. If you need help to know who's in what channel, send us an email, reach out. We'll help give you some research that tells you. McKinsey & Company, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Forrester, all have a ton of research online about channels, who's on them, what age, whatever. So if you did a quick Google, you'd be able to find it as well. And strategy and messaging pillars. So then you see how far down the pipe this thing is? The next one is going to talk about tactics. And the mistake that a lot of small businesses make is they start with tactics. But all of the work to this point is really informing your strategy. You know now, I'm not going to use TikTok to reach somebody who needs a total knee replacement. It's not, by and large, going to be most of the audience. Maybe not going to use Clubhouse. People aren't out there looking for medical services. Okay, so a lot of that age group on Facebook and Instagram, which I'm sure you know, but Facebook owns Instagram. So if you advertise on one, it will serve it on both. Maybe that's where we will go, and we'll focus on advertising there, and we'll focus on our search engine optimizations and our keywords on our website. And maybe we'll send a direct mail to this specific zip code, which is a much older area of the city and has 2 55 and up, residential units in it. That's the kind of thing. We're going to build our strategy, and the messaging pillars really are, it's exactly the work we do with all our clients. The service provider, their messaging pillars basically are columns of how we're going to talk about their brand. For the one that does mold remediation, that's the one that's environmentally friendly. One of their message pillars is environmentally friendly. So, and one of their messaging pillars is safety, and that mold can start growing within 2 hours. So it's so important to get floods cleaned up right away so that there's no harm to health. One of their pillars is that they are locally owned by families for families. So basically what the messaging pillars do is they align with your values, with the why and the purpose that you had outlined previously. And it gives you basically a strategy for how to talk about your business. This is important because if every post that you put on your social media page is intentional and aligned to one of your core values. It doesn't have to say we're environmentally friendly because, no, it could say, look at this job. This family had 3 dogs, and we're so proud that we could give them, treat the mold issue, and all their dogs are safe. They didn't have to be out of the house for days, whatever. And so it gives that consistency of what's in it for me and who you are and what you represent. And so thinking through your values and your why and your purpose is important and will help you identify what are kind of your key categories of brand values and attributes that are so good for the customer. And then you'll want to keep your posts as much as possible related within there. For the retail client that we worked with, we helped her refine her message because the words she was using excluded a whole bunch of people right at the gate. And then we wanted to help her identify that, okay, let's pull back a little on this language so that you're not just excluding people at the gate. But then we can have pillars that are, hey, wear what's on your mind. She's got kind of a sassy apparel and some kind of provocative things on her shirts and, the sayings and things. So we went into a wear what's on your mind. And so we can kind of get into the messaging around being unique and expressing yourself and that sort of thing. So if that helps, make sure that you identify what are your categories. Otherwise, you'll talk about just whatever. And that just ends up, if it doesn't have an intention to it, it ends up being disengaging because people are like, now they're like, wait, are you talking to me? I don't care about this. So that's where you want to be sure. So growth tactics. Again, often small businesses start with this. They're like, oh, can you help us with our business? We need more sales. So they launch straight into Facebook or website or whatever without really having a strategy. And that is going to just dilute your ability to connect with the right people in the right places. So even if you've been at it 20 years, I would encourage you to take a time out. It's a good time right at the beginning of Q4. Get intentional about who you're trying to reach and design your strategy and then implement that strategy into these tactics. So I'm going to go over just a few basics that are kind of, you really need to consider it. A website. We get asked all the time by people who are like, I don't need a website. Okay. If you have more business than you need and don't need a lead generation tool, no problem. And then there are a lot of people who are like, I have to have a website first. Okay. The website really is mostly about being found. It's rare that people are going to just come and study your website, as great as it may be. But the website is important for search engine optimization, SEO. And one of the biggest things that I see, two mistakes by small businesses, and I actually have seen it by some others, bigger businesses, which surprised me. On the website, you get a Wix, whatever, they have great templates. They actually have a really great SEO tool that walks you through what's important for SEO. So if you aren't very technical and you need a website, I like Wix.com for WIX for websites. Got a lot of functionality, but it depends on what you need. So we had a company come to us and say, we have a website, it's worthless. We dug in, we took a look at it. Guess what? They never indexed their website to Google. What does that mean? Basically, it means that they created a website and never connected it to Google, which is the #1 search term by a mile online. So Every time someone says high performance running shoes in Atlanta, Georgia, the Google basically sends, I explained it to one of my clients as little ants, a little army of ants that crawls every web page in Atlanta, Georgia, looking for the words high performance tennis shoes. And it will pull up the results of the sites that most closely match. So if you didn't index your website to Google, the ants don't even know you exist. And so guess what? They'd had 2 visitors on their website in 2 years. We got it indexed to Google. We refined their messaging and made sure it was speaking in the language that was ideal to their audience. We implemented the message pillars of safe, eco-conscious, family, local business, all that. And they went from like 2 in 2 years to a couple hundred visitors to their website a week, which is amazing. So your website has to be indexed to Google. If you don't know what that means, Google it or reach out by email and we'll help you. But also there's literally a physician, an internal medicine doctor, just opened a new clinic down the road. And I'm one of his patients. And I'm like, hey, your website's awful. Let us help you. And he's like, oh, I'm doing it myself. First of all, what? You're a doctor. What are you doing that for? But anyways, he didn't know how to delete the blogs on the template he picked. So there's a bunch of blogs with lorem ipsum, which is just placeholder nonsense text on his website. That looks bad, first of all. Google's like, this is a fake website, because you can set up a spammy website in a minute and then say, oh yeah, click here. A lot of the phishing folks can do that. So make sure that if you're going to do a website, that you complete it, that you do the proper SEO steps, and that you index it to Google. It's a really important thing to be able to drive leads or interest. And I'll tell you, almost 70% of consumers online search a brand through social media and their website before ever making a business decision. So I do think a website is important. Google is super important, as we said. That there is a platform called Google My Business. When you said, oh, restaurants near me, it brings up a map with all the pins. Those are driven by Google My Business. That's free. If you have a physical address of any type for your business, capture your Google My Business profile. It is essential to be found online. It not only gives you a second website that says high performance running shoes in Atlanta, it puts you on the map literally in Google. And so if you are a retail or service, if you have a geo that you serve specifically with your services or whatever, make sure you own your Google My Business page. The side benefit is you can post posts out there, promotions, your hours are out there, people can click and get directions straight to you. It's super important. So make sure you have your Google, and those 2 things alone will result in traffic for your business. Social media, there's a million of them. How do you know? Snapchat, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. The bottom line here is back to our brand story. Make sure that you're engaging, that you're showing up. If you post once a year, guess what? You're not going to get a lot of traffic. The idea with social media is to get followers and not just buying them by saying, oh, we're doing a promotion, like and follow me, and then share, because then those people all just unfollow in a minute. You want to have posts, whatever, get followers, and you can then begin to identify what is common about those followers. And Facebook has some amazing tools like lookalike audiences. So if you have a huge email list from capturing in your retail store, you're able to find a lookalike audience to that list. They scramble the list. They find people online that have similar attributes in their profile, and then you can serve your ad up to those people who are most likely to want to engage with your brand. So when you're advertising, having some followers, it's really important to be able to have a relationship with them, post, comment, respond. A little hint for you, if you have mom, dad, and grandma all liking every single post of yours, have them do a heart or put an emoji or something, because that in the algorithm boosts your post, and then it will show better engagement. Just the thumbs up is kind of a invisible engagement on Facebook anymore. So if they comment or share or whatever, so when someone comments, if you comment and say thank you, that's 2 comments on your post. The algorithm on Facebook's like, oh, this is a pretty good post. People like it. So they bump it up to more eyeballs. And so it's important for that. Referral and partners. So this is a really interesting topic for service providers like the mold remediation company, the well company. We've helped them set up a referral program where, in the case of the mold remediation company, there was a monetary value to contractors or plumbers or specific targeted partners who would make a referral. Home inspectors, when they find mold in the walls, if they make a referral and that person books, then they get a monetary cash incentive. And so that kind of referral thing works so well with realtors, mortgage brokers, with service providers, whatever. But there may be other partnerships that would be kind of a fun little twist. You know, we have done partnerships where we were trying to reach a specific audience that worked for an Amazon facility. We weren't allowed to market direct to them. So we created a partnership with the only coffee stand within, 3 or 4 blocks right outside that Amazon warehouse. A lot of people came through there. So we created a partnership with them and bought the day or gave free coffees or had wrapped sleeves, signs, whatever. We were doing whatever we could to get in front of them. And so don't ignore the in-person things, sponsorships, whatever it is that you might be able to do to help spread the love and the awareness of your brand. Email is an interesting thing, and a lot of people assume email is dead, and I can tell you it's not. Email done well is not dead. But you can't just plan to send one and call it. There's still a lot of people who are signing up for email lists, who are participating in receiving newsletters or more information. And I just read a study this week, actually, by McKinsey, I believe, maybe another company, I can't remember, that was talking about send the first email, there was a certain response. Second email, another 18%. Third email, another 17%, with much higher click-through intentions. So the idea is to make sure if you need a specific action from that email that it's sent more than one time and that you're consistent. You create a expectation that every second Thursday I get email from this company. The best days to send email been researched to death: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 to about 4. I have that report. If you want it, send me a message and I'll email you that study with the infographics. But email isn't dead. It makes sense if you have promotions, if you've got special holiday events, if you are working on a big fundraising campaign that's coming up, or the big give day or whatever. There's a lot of reasons why email makes sense for you. Okay, and then other stuff. Again, the sponsorships, the events. Maybe it makes sense for you to be at a farmer's market just to get brand awareness and get some followings. That's a relatively small investment. It's a block of time, $20, $40 to be there. But if you're brand new and you're making homemade candles and you want people to buy them online, That's one way for people to smell it and then know they love it, so they'll buy it online. I won't buy a candle online. I can't smell it. I don't know if I like it. So it's just an idea. Okay, we're getting close. So a few of our favorite tools. If you don't know about these tools, please take some notes here. Canva.com is by far one of the most useful tools for businesses. And we have used it for health systems that span 9 states. We've used it for our business. The ad you saw to sign up for this webinar was created in Canva. We've used it for clients, for ourselves. Canva has a free membership, so there is a lot you can do with a free membership. And they have tons of templates already decided. So if you're like, I need to do Facebook for Thanksgiving, you put it in there, it pulls up the Thanksgiving Facebook templates that are already in the exact right size. Oh, I want one for the story too. Okay, it'll put it in the exact right dimensions. The photos are included. It's got tons of different fonts. You can add moving elements. So if you want to add a little GIF or make a video for your story or whatever, Canva is a really great tool. The other thing that it does, if you buy the professional version, which I think is less than $15 a month, you can also print. So business cards, flyers, postcards, menus, you can print whatever it is, CD covers. You can print through Canva as well if you pay the $15. It typically takes less than a week to get to you, and it's not bad pricing at all. So Canva, I can't proclaim enough about. It's easy to use. It downloads into PNG file, which is great for online. There are templates for everything from menus to CD covers to flyers to invitations, Christmas cards, all of it. So check out Canva. Hootsuite is one example of a scheduling software. So I know that you can schedule posts in Facebook, all of that. But the thing about Hootsuite is they have a free version, which is why I included it. We use a different programming thing, but it's $100 a month, which is a lot. We're managing a lot of profiles, so it makes sense for us. For you, Hootsuite has a free version. You can use up to 3 channels for free, and you can schedule to all of them. You could schedule a post today for Christmas in 2023 if you want. You can schedule ahead. So this way, if you have an hour or so once a week that you're working on social media, you can schedule all your posts ahead on any channel. And on Hootsuite, it shows you when somebody commented. It has a listening tool, is what it's called, and it shows you all the comments you can reply right in there. So you don't have to keep going in and out of all the channels. So Hootsuite's really helpful. Okay, we got 4 minutes. Sticker Mule is something that I love. They're super easy. If you need stickers, bumper stickers, decals, labels, etc., they are so easy. And a lot of small businesses it's a lot of money to get 3,000 of them that's required at a big promotional vendor or a big print vendor. So with Sticker Mule, you can get as few as 20. They even do the big floor, please keep your distance stickers. They've got everything from cutouts and die cuts and whatever. You upload a PDF or a JPEG or a PNG, which you can create in Canva. And they send you a proof to look at, and you get it in less than a week. And it's really not bad pricing. If you sign up for their emails, they do one special a week, I think. And like sometimes you can get 50 custom cutout die cut stickers for $19 or something. So Sticker Mule is fun if you need labels. I've used them personally for a cottage food business that I had where we needed the labeling on the package, the ingredients, all of that. And it was a really great price. They come in great rolls. They do custom packaging tape that's got the logo all on it. Custom mailers. If you're mailing a bunch of like CDs or whatever, you wanted a custom padded mailer, you can get that from Sticker Mule. So the last few things, there are a lot of free sites that are very community specific. And for something like a landscape service, a nonprofit, a local retailer or whatever, Alignable is a newer platform, alignable.com. You can create your own profile and you can make posts and engage with people, refer people. You can recommend other providers, whatever other service providers on Alignable. And it's a free way to engage in your local community. The other thing that you'll want to know is that on Facebook, if you're in Facebook and go to that top left corner, it's a search bar, and you searched for running groups, high performance running shoes, running groups in Santa Fe, and then you can look for pages or groups. There's two different things. There are Facebook pages, there are Facebook groups of people who have common interests. You can request to join, and then now you have a whole audience of your people. That's a gold mine of information. What are they asking about? This webinar came from an Alignable page for small business owners, and everybody needs help to market their business. So that's where I got that intelligence. And there's a lot of local listings. If you're serving only Ravensdale, Washington, there is a Ravensdale, Washington group where all the residents of Ravensdale are a part of that group. So make sure that you check out the niche groups within your geography if you are a local service provider. For one that is regional, they have joined all the little regional towns, and they're able to post. There are rules. They could post once a month or once a week, a promotion about their business. And that way you're just top of mind to your people. In finding what people need and want, Answer the Public is a website, answerthepublic.com. It's really expensive, but you can do 2 free searches a day. So if you were looking for how often did people search for high performance footwear, you could put that in Answer the Public, and it will serve up to you a list of how many times that day, either in the US, global, whatever country, you can narrow it down, people searched for that term, and then it will give you every variation of how they asked for that information. Why is that important? Again, it's getting to how is the customer looking for this information. It also super great for keywords for your website, for a blog, for a social post. If you know that they're looking for running shoes and not high performance shoes, then you'll want to use the terms running shoes in your materials. So anyway, Quora, Reddit are conversations. They're like conversation platforms online as well. The other thing we like to do, have you ever been on Google where you start searching for running shoes and then it fills in the rest of the sentence for you? Those are the most highly searched for phrases. And so they're trying to guess what you're looking for, and we'll serve that up. So Google will help. The other little trick for consultants or specific niche types of products, look on Amazon book reviews. As a marketing consultant, I'm going to look at some key marketing books and find out what the people are saying about it. They love it. What they don't like, then that helps me understand the engagement and what really is resonating with the audience. And then finally, THNKS is thanks. This is an automatic gift thing. So if you need something for your loyal customers and you want to be able to say, thank you for joining us, or thanks for signing up, or whatever, you can pick something from a $7 Starbucks and a brownie to a $150 wine box. You can pick something and it will automatically send it to the customer as a thank you with your own customized note. And so if you need something that's a loyalty-based thing, rather than trying to buy, 50 sweatshirts that have to be in a certain size or having a bunch of swag around, the thanks thing is an option for sending a thank you to a key client or maybe a key referring partner. They also have the opportunity, if they don't want to receive the gift, to make that gift a donation to a charity. So it's a nice little way to work around needing to buy a bunch of swag and promotional stuff.